Hi, everybody. I'm Matt with K15T, and welcome to our live stream. Today, we are going to be talking about Company Hub, a new app or relatively new app in the Atlassian platform, which is really exciting for sharing information across your entire company. We have been wanting to talk about this for a while because Company Hub kind of had origins in Confluence, but has grown much more outside of it, as we will talk about. Good morning, Andy. Hi, Andrea. Welcome, everybody. So nice to have you join. Couple of things to know. First of all, Mixmaster Stefan is in the chat. If you have questions, type them into the chat with hashtag question at the beginning. If you would, that helps us pick out which things are questions. That is just very helpful. And then also keep an eye on the chat, because we'll be dropping links to resources that, as we talk about them, right into the chat. So we'll be talking about a lot of features in Company Hub, and then also a few features that you can also use in your Confluence pages. So definitely keep an eye on the chat, and Stefan will be dropping those links in as we go. If you would, please hit that like button. That tells the algorithm good things are happening, and I do believe they are. If you haven't, maybe hit that subscribe button as well, because we're doing monthly live streams. We're producing a ton of new video content. You should check out some of our recent videos where I talk with Jefferson Taylor, the head of product for Confluence, as well as others. We got a lot of really cool stuff hitting our channel, as well as an upcoming video about creating Rovo agents. But we are not talking about Rovo agents today. Today is all about Company Hub, the front door to your company. And I am not alone. I am joined by none other than Alli Shea from Atlassian. Alli, it's so nice to have you on the live stream.
So happy to be here. Excited to talk about Company Hub, excited to field some questions and show you all what this powerful tool can do.
Fantastic. So yeah, everybody in the chat, please be thinking about the questions you have. Alli and I are both here to answer questions. I will try to pull them in as we're looking through things, so that it's incorporated really well into the conversation, because you are here to steer the action. So first off, Alli, tell us a little bit about what is Company Hub, and you're more than welcome to show us this Company Hub that you have prepared.
Yeah. So Company Hub, as Matt mentioned, is the front door to your company. In Confluence, we were hearing from a ton of customers that, you have your spaces and you have your home feed, which is kind of items relevant to you and your work. But there was kind of this missing piece to the puzzle of, where does the stuff that your company needs you to know go? Where's the most important announcements, the most authoritative resources? How can that come together in one place and also have that look and feel like your company, feel as lively as, the water cooler in your company might? So that led us to create something called Company Hub. So with Company Hub, relative to Confluence, you get a few more powerful editing tools, and it really kind of feels more like that site, that polished, unique site. So I'll kind of scroll through a sample one that we made, which is for a company called VitaFleet, and we can kind of check out some of the elements that you have on Company Hub. A few of these are also available on Pages and Spaces. So, Company Hub is more commonly used for the whole company, but you can use a lot of these things for if you have like a specific project group or a specific team. We've seen like IT groups create their own little hub within a site. So yeah, let's walk through. So we start off with a nice little header up here to kind of link to some key resources. You can set, specific items here, set the background color, really bring the feeling of your company into this hub. Then we have, I think, a really fun kind of a colorful carousel here to put your most important announcements. You'll get to choose the main text, the CTAs, and more. Then you get another element called a special search macro that lets you kind of refine what you want to be searched. So specific to the hub, do you want to say only look at 3 or 4 special spaces, and set specific rules like that? And then, you really get to choose your own adventure as far as the type of content you want your employees to see. For this company, you might have a subset of product demos. You really want the rest of the company to feel involved in what's coming out to customers. You could also say put in some items on, what's new in the offices. Now do you get a friendly, dogs welcome at the office? This one I think is particularly cute. And then you can also set up this cards macro to be specific to, what people, what their role is. So Matt's going to jump into this a little bit more, but we can segment based on specific characteristics, which is exciting. And you can put in other macros here too. You could put in looms, you could put in the company goals, highlight different people in your team. This is one that we love to do at Atlassian is calling out folks for their anniversary. And you could also put in help portals. A really common use case is to pull in JSM. So people right from, that front door from the company hub easily have a pathway to, get some of their key questions, getting a new laptop, something like that, answered quickly. And yeah, like I mentioned, I really love the loom in the company hub. So really, feeling that energy from some of the leadership in this forum. In the Atlassian version, I really like to go to our company hub and kind of see the latest from Mike and more. And that's a very quick walkthrough. I'm excited to hear questions and dive in.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alli. Yeah, so everybody, we're going to have the fun that we typically have, which is watching Matt stumble through all of all of what Alli just covered.
Yes.
I wanted to quickly mention for those of you in our audience, I want to make sure y'all know Company Hub is actually a separate app in the Atlassian platform. So when it first was released, it was kind of more sort of chunked into Confluence. And now, well, you're using similar tools that you would in Confluence. It's actually a separate app. And this is similar to what we're seeing with the editor in general. So now when you use the editor in Confluence, it's the same editor that you use in Jira. For any long form text fields, it's the same editor. And you can bring in many of the same elements that you can in Confluence. If you didn't know that, go check that out. If you're on Jira Cloud, you can do that. I've even heard rumblings that the Trello team might also adopt the same editor. So the same ability to bring in really powerful elements exists in these different apps on the platform, Company Hub being one of those. So just so you know, it's different, but also it is the same. And it is not just some Confluence page or a Confluence space. It's meant to be a highly customizable page. One thing that I will note is, at least as far as I know, Alli, I don't think you can set like a custom URL for this page. Is that right?
That's right. It's something we've heard folks ask about, and something we're going to look into a little bit more. But for now, you would get that Company Hub URL.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So as a best practice for those of you setting one of these up, you probably want to work with your systems administrators to set up a DNS redirect so you can have something like, goodsoftware.com/company info or whatever you want to call your company hub. So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat yet. But just as a reminder for those in the chat, for those watching, if you would hit that like button, that would be great. Feeds the algorithm, nom, nom, nom. Also, maybe consider subscribing to our Confluence weekly newsletter. We just published our 100th issue, which was really fantastic. And it's really phenomenal. So click that link to subscribe. Patricia and Chris on the team are absolutely rocking with that. We do have a question. How do you deal with the constant churn of features, layouts, etc., that Atlassian pushes out in order to represent a solid page at an enterprise level business? Users don't love the change. That is an interesting question. From the respect of Company Hub, while the early days did have some visual changes, I don't know that the team's going to be pushing out massive changes that impact the way the Company Hub looks. Do you have any thoughts on that, Alli?
I think that's right, Matt. So I think for now, the core components here we want to persist as much as possible. So while there's certainly more changing on the editor overall, hopefully it's moving towards giving you more options on how your pages can look. It sounds like maybe the question here is more on how can I standardize the way look and feel happens across, say, like an enterprise site and enterprise tools. And there's more we're thinking about there. We want to, make it easier for you to have the right mix of, say, like governance and autonomy. So giving your teams the ability to still have resources that like look and feel and work well, but also giving you as an admin more ways to, have the artifacts they create like map to the same set of visual standards.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, also for this person, you might also be feeling the pain of, like, let's be real, the Atlassian platform is still relatively new in reality, when we're looking at, like, a web platform, and there's a lot of old Confluence features, there's a lot of old Jira features that have been completely redesigned, that have been, moved away from, things have been completely redesigned and modernized. That's a lot of change, but a lot of this is about stabilizing a platform. So, for example, moving to an editor that is used across multiple products, that's something that a platform company does. Yeah, that's a lot of change for us, but like long term is like, yeah, that's the right thing to do for us. In the short term, though, it's difficult. It's a lot of change for our users. So, yeah, it's a mix of communication, which is challenging. That's part of the reason why we do these live streams, is so we can all try to keep up with all the changes. But yeah, some of it, especially if you're an admin, there's a lot of burden on your shoulders there. I have a few more questions, but I'd like to show a little bit since we're in the live stream, and I will come back to those questions. So what I would love to do is kind of show how we get started jumping into a company hub. So here I am logged in as an administrator. And a really important thing to know is you need to have Confluence Premium or above to have access to the Company Hub feature. When you do, your administrator will see the Company Hub app, which is great. If y'all haven't set up the Company Hub or you don't want to set up the Company Hub, no worries. Nobody else will have access to it. But your admin will always have that ability to jump into the Company Hub app. So I'm going to go there right now. And here I am. It's pretty basic. I'm going to jump into the editor. I have been playing around with this. So if you go right into it brand new, it will ask you to give it a name, which we could actually do right now. So I'm just going to go into the manage area here, and I'm going to rename this. So I'm going to call this, we'll call it Good Software Home. No, let's call it the Good Software Hub. Let's do that. Cool. Because the name of this company here is Good Software. So it's the Good Software Hub. By the way, this is a nice area here for y'all to see who is using what. And we can actually come in and look at some deeper analytics for the page and see who has access to it. So within the Company Hub settings, you have some basic info on who is doing what. So I'm going to jump into the editor here, and you'll see I've dropped in a few of the elements Alli already mentioned, just to try to kickstart us into the building process. So one thing that I like about this a lot is it looks very familiar. It kind of looks like the Confluence editor. That's because it's the same editor that we're seeing across all of our Atlassian tools, which is super cool. I can even unpin the toolbar. So just like with Confluence, the toolbar moves with me, which is actually the way I prefer to edit. Anyway, one thing that is different is we have these big plus buttons, which are really helpful in helping us create sections in particular. So sections are a way of grouping elements, and we saw several of those with what Alli was showing. Sections, if you've ever used any sort of website builder, sections are a really important tool for grouping content. So for example, this section I dropped in, you can see it highlighted, it's a nice big section. I've given it a title and a description here. I can mess around with the width and such. I can also change the background color of each, which we'll fiddle with later. Because really when you're building a hub, you actually, you would want to begin by talking with stakeholders before you're working in here. So what isn't as beautiful to look at or as fun to build is actually the plan for your company hub. So a best practice is you need to meet with people ahead of time to figure out what actually should be on this company hub. It shouldn't just be some kind of like fever dream of like, we'll just throw a bunch of stuff on and see what happens. One thing I wanted to remind everybody of is there's actually a bit of a sort of a hierarchy of types of information to keep in mind. And this can be confusing, especially given all the types of tools we have. So from the bottom up, there's sort of like raw information. So these are like documents and spreadsheets and just like random tools that someone has made, right? So these are the things that the worker bees are accessing. Then we have reports. So these might be dashboards. These might be PowerPoint files on a SharePoint. So sorry, PowerPoint, you were never meant for this. Reports. So these are things that, the worker bees need access to. Also, management probably needs access to. Then we have product home pages. So this would be like drive.google.com. So that's when you go to Google Drive and you see all of your files in Google Drive, or your site.atlassian.net/Jira. That's the home page for Jira. There's a home page for Confluence. So these are, if a lot of people are using Google Drive, you're going to send them to drive.google.com. Cool. Then we have even higher a platform homepage. So this is going to be workspace.google.com or the Office 365 homepage or home.atlassian.com. So we've also seen the home app. So that would be this one here. So home app is your personalized, for yourself across all of Atlassian products. Here is valuable information and updates on all of the Atlassian tools you use. And then finally, at the very tippy top of all of this, that is where the hub lives. It's the front door. It's all, it has links to all of these types of information. So I'm telling you all this because it's a bit complicated to decide what should actually be on your hub. So use cases might be like, a welcome area for new people in the company, or maybe you have weekly updates that go out. Maybe there's an area where you want to focus on people, like work that people are doing within the different teams in the company. So like trying to share learning there. All of these things are great for sections. In fact, I want to add one more section here. So I'm going to hit this plus button here. And on this section, I'm going to call it resources. Let's see. Learn quickly. With these resources. Oh, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm not even showing you my screen. With these resources. I hit the plus button and this new section dropped in. I'm so sorry. And you know what I'm going to do? I don't love this description, so I'm going to use Rovo here, and I'm going to improve this writing. Learn with these resources. All right, that's pretty simple, Rovo, but I'm game. Let's do that. All right, so I have several sections here, which is great. We're going to add some elements to each of these. But first, let's talk about that links menu that Alli was talking about. So with the links menu, you can build a full navigation menu here by hitting this new menu option. And here you can add individual links, or you can group links together. So you can see here, like this team ones, this is a group of links. So Alli, I was curious with the links menu, Are there any best practices for like, how many links should I put in this thing? Like, can I put 100 links in here?
I think best practice guidance would be to stick to however many can fit into that window. So depending on if you're, say, using the German language or English, that might be, 4 to 5, might be closer to 6 to 7. It's up to you. For us, we generally, I think, stick to around 4 or 5, and on any individual item, try and keep it under 5, just for easy scannability.
I think that's a really nice tip, and a really important thing here is to think about information architecture. So think about how across your entire organization, which is very massive. This is why you want to talk to your stakeholders ahead of time. Across all of them, what are the main things people are looking for? So, for example, we have this Teams link. Let's update this. So this one actually, I want to send to the marketing page here. Or actually, I'm sorry, that is the marketing space. And I forgot to update the name. So I'm going to send people to marketing here. So Teams, that might be good, but for a large enterprise, right, we might need this more as like departments, right? So spend some time with people talking about how do they think about these different things. Like maybe within your organization, it's not departments, it's I want to say silos, but we don't call them that. It might be units, right? It might be business units. Probably not broken up, as like units of marketing and whatnot, but think about how people navigate things and do a little testing. So a great thing to do before you're even building this is to create a whiteboard and lay out your menu. You could very easily prototype a little clickable thing, or not necessarily clickable, but make it look like that with all the menus expanded and ask people, does this seem navigable? Does this make sense? And generally, you want to have links to all the things that you have highlighted on your page. You also should have links to them here. Just generally, that's most likely going to be usable or most usable for people navigating. Particularly, or another thing to keep in mind is these links here, make sure that all of the titles make sense to people, even if they are using a screen reader. So make sure that there's you're not using an emoji in place of text as an example. Make sure that everything is clear. And as people are navigating into these structures with their screen readers, make sure that all of the descriptors here make sense. All right, before we go on, I want to look at some questions. Alli, Andre wants to know what sets Company Hub apart from using a confluence space with pages. Like, is it just because you can customize it? What's the difference?
Really good question. There's a few key differences. Probably the most notable is where Hub lives in the hierarchy. So Hub kind of gets that like front row seat in navigation, so should be more accessible. Different than a space overview. You can have the hub right there in the top left kind of key links you see. So it should be more accessible to more people in your company without having to go deeper into one particular tool like Confluence.
Right.
Compared to a space overview, you also get a few more special features. So you saw Matt preview some of the analytics experience, but you'll get a lot more robust analytics to answer questions like what's the most popular stuff that teams are engaging with. You can use that to try and understand what should I be adding more of on Hub that people are excited to learn about. And you also get the segmentation with cards, the links menu, and a few more of these special macros. And we can find some resources to follow up and link. But the main way to think of it is more prominence in the navigation and a few more robust macros and editing capabilities, and then analytics. And then finally, the hub is accessible to admins. So a space overview, anyone in the company can edit. Company Hub is a little bit more restricted or exclusive in who can make changes to it.
Super, yeah, super important. Uria is wondering, can people use the company hub without a Confluence license? And also people are wondering, can it be accessed like for users of JSM, et cetera?
You do need a license to access the hub. You can set it up to be available via a public link, but we haven't seen people really want to do that. So for now, the folks would need a Confluence license to access the hub, including the end content linked on the hub.
Okay, okay. Let's show a little bit more, and then y'all, I will get back to some more of these questions that we're seeing here, because I want to talk to you about some of those elements that are unique for Company Hub or enhanced in Company Hub. So one that is unique is the links menu that we talked about. That is, you can only add that in Company Hub. Sections, those are another element that are only available. You can also see like this is geared toward being full width. It's geared toward being a site page and not just a document size page like Confluence is in general. So that is a unique part of this. So one of the nice things is when you drop a section in, there's this little placeholder element that's dropped in, which I really like just because it kind of helps you get going. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add a spotlight element here. So at any point, right, I could just use a slash command and I can add a spotlight. That's easy, but I want to do it a little quicker. So I'm going to hit spotlight here, and that placeholder is replaced with the element. Just so you know, this element can also be used in your Confluence pages and live docs if you have Confluence Premium. So this is, this is a really nice way. We actually just released an updated how to create beautiful pages video, and we highlight this as one of those great elements you can use there. So here, if I go in and modify the spotlight, and I don't have too much time to play around with this, unfortunately, because we're already running behind, but you have some styling options here, which is very cool. And you also have some layout options. So you could, if it's just a text-based piece of information that you're really trying to get after, you can go with that. I actually like this one a lot. You have a few options here, which is great. I want to go to the content piece. This is what's really important to me. So this is where you can start to really customize this. And again, I'm not going to be able to do all of this because I just don't have the time, and my typing gets so bad when people are watching. I don't know if y'all experience that. Does that happen to you, Alli? Like when human beings are watching you type and you're just like, I don't know how to do this anymore.
Yeah, I just forget how to spell when that happens.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Drop it in the comment if y'all also forget how to type um when people are watching. Also additional questions or thoughts, please drop them in there. So I can also add a description here. A tip here is crack open Rovo here and have Rovo help you write any of this. Rovo isn't directly integrated here, but you can always be asking Rovo and say like, look, I've got this spotlight that I'm adding. I've given it this title. I want it to, direct people toward this resource. Would you write a description for me? Definitely have Rovo helping with that because it's tricky. Also, here, I can add an image. So at any time, I can upload an image from my computer. But in this case, I can also search through Unsplash. So I'm going to look for an image here. Wow, I don't like any of these. Let's see. Let's see.
On that text, one case we've seen is folks adding their brand guidelines and content design guidelines to a Rovo agent, and then you can pass through different things you write here through that Rovo agent to get a recommendation on like how can I make sure what I'm writing works with what other folks in my company have said is the best way to stick to our sort of brand way of speaking. My favorite Rovo prompt is saying, how can I make this punchier? That's like the fastest way I found to make it shorter, to make it easier to read, a little bit more persuasive.
I love this. Yeah, that is absolutely a great idea. Yeah, so here in my Rovo chat, I could access a Rovo agent. That's such a great point, Ali, because I was gonna say the reason I'm not touching any design stuff yet, colors and things, is again, you want to meet with people ahead of time to understand how do we incorporate our brand look and feel and colors. It's not just about dropping colors in. And I talked about information architecture being very important with your links. It's also important with your text here. You want your text to match all the guidelines. There's smart people at your company that have already figured out how y'all talk, what's the most important, how you refer to things, terminology. Yeah, and a Rovo agent would be perfect for suggesting that. I love this. I love this so much. Last thing you can do here is you can add a button. So I'm going to say, check out the guide. Almost always you want your button to have some sort of action, right? So use a verb here. And I'm going to link it here. And now we've got a button and I want it in black. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So I've added a spotlight. I'm going to, this kid is so cute. I'm going to look at some of the questions from y'all and then we'll add something else to our company hub. So, Andre has added like 9 cards to their company hub and they're seeing 0 analytics. Any tips? Are you sure everyone has permission to actually look at it, Andre? That could be it, because you do have to grant access, or you have to publish your company hub in order for people to see it. Any other thoughts why that might be happening, Alli?
It's a good question. We can look at it maybe offline a little bit closer, but I wonder if it's been updated, if it's gotten enough clicks to show up in analytics. I imagine there's a little bit of a lag versus immediate. I'd have to double check what that is, but if you give it 5 minutes and maybe refresh, we could check it again. But it should definitely be showing there.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to highlight for everybody, if you go to the More menu, the More Actions menu, you can always give feedback directly to the team working on Company Hub by using this. The PMs on the teams actually read this stuff. So, Andre, in this point, or in this situation, sounds like you probably need like tech support, but just so everybody knows, that's how you can give feedback. Mixmaster Stefan has dropped a question in, which is, are there plans to provide Rovo functionality as part of the company hub? Like at some point, there's a bunch, you might have a bunch of agents. Can we integrate agents in the experience? Could we link to them? Also, I would love to know, could like Rovo help me make this? I think Rovo, I could ask Rovo today, hey, what are some really useful things throughout at least the stuff connected to Rovo, information that I should highlight here. But like, would Rovo actually help lay out the company hub for me?
It's such a good idea. So Rovo today can help, I think, on a few elements of the company hub. So, you can ask Rovo to check for typos. I'm prone to those, especially when people are watching. So that's, one thing you can have it do on the hub. You can get ideas for, information architecture even, as someone who struggles with that. You can have it go through and say, what do you think, like overall, pretend you're an expert in intranet, what would you put here that's missing? Something like that. Having Rovo kind of, let's say an experience whereby you can put into a chat like blank space, here's how I imagine our company hub looking and feeling. Go and get for me, the right information to get me to a draft one. It's something we're looking into. Can't say too much on this yet, but I think there's definitely a huge opportunity for Rovo, which has all the context of your teams and your knowledge and, what resources are authoritative, and then pulling that into getting you to a faster, better version of, your company front door with less work, would be something we want to do for you all quickly.
Interesting. Okay, okay, okay. One quick question from Alporth, which is just confirming Rovo does search the company hub, right? Like when you use Rovo search?
Yep, exactly. And one thing that came up on a space overview versus a company hub is the company hub is not an original container of information. So the way a space you have a bunch of child pages, the hub itself doesn't have that like typical page tree nested structure. So it won't have all those the content that belongs solely to the hub. It's mostly a pretty robust links display.
Okay, okay. We have more questions. Also, Emily is bemoaning the fact that you can't set the company hub as a landing page for people anymore. There was a time when you kind of could. There was
Yes,
also, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and that time is no more. Yeah, I think there's a challenge, right? Because there's the home app where, that's somebody's like personalized view of Atlassian, and then there's the company hub, which is the whole company front door. So, like, do you make the company front door the landing page for people coming to the Atlassian in the morning? Generally, you probably want to actually use, again, like some DNS records to make that, the landing page that's brought up when people open a new browser tab or something like that, because it's not just for people coming to Atlassian products. It's intended for everybody in the company. I think that's why that change was made. If that does that track, Alli? Am I just talking nonsense right now?
No, that
Maybe.
that tracks. I want to be forthcoming that it's a common piece of feedback. I think there's also a Conf Cloud ticket on it, so worth upvoting if you haven't already. But yeah, the core thinking was how do we make this something that we can exist like above just the Confluence level, and be the homepage across like all of the Atlassian tools. So one thing that you should be able to do is set the company hub as the homepage for Atlassian. If most folks are kind of primarily engaging with Confluence only, I could totally understand how that doesn't help a ton in that case. But understand that's frustrating. Hopefully, some of that explanation um, uh, can help you see how we got to that trade off.
These things are they become more and more complicated as we think about like enterprises, right? Because it's like, my God, this is pretty huge. Also, someday, some of us might like to be able to have more hubs, as an example, instead of just one. But that is not what we're talking about at the moment. I want to show you what Alli was talking about earlier, right? I don't have to put these particular elements here, which is awesome, right? I can get rid of this placeholder in this section, and I have a link to a Loom, and I'm just going to post that in here. And I clicked the wrong button. That's lovely. I don't need that, actually. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to change this to an embed, because this is just a smart link. So if you're not familiar with smart links, you can drop the link to a YouTube video or a Google, a Google Sheets file, or a Confluence page, or a Trello board. Like, there's many, many, many apps that we use every day, and it will just display the content right here. So in this case, I have this video. I'll leave it like this. I could probably zhuzh up this section, but this is super amazing because you can make really interactive and beautiful content that just shows up and lives right here in a section. So all the tools you are using, you can bring that in and make your company hub an interactive experience, which is really cool. Like if you have a Trello board where some big project is being managed, everybody who has view access, you can drop that Trello board here, and they're going to get up to date, a look at how that project is going right here in the company front door. So all of those tools that your teams are using for planning and communicating, as long as they're supported by smart links, you can drop smart links directly into these sections. So let's add another beautiful formatting element here, and I want to drop in a carousel here. So a carousel is intended for highlighting different pieces of content. So here in the Tales from the Team section, this would be like a great way to connect to like a blog that you have going with different blog content. So you have a few options like turning on autoplay, which probably is a good idea. One thing to be careful with carousels is don't add too many items. Probably 5 items is the best. Otherwise, people tend to start to miss carousels. That's why a lot of web designers don't use them. So be careful. You also have a couple of options here. So you can just show like progress circles, but I think the thumbnails are better because you're not risking losing anything, which is awesome. And then again, on the content side, right here, I can see all of my individual items. So here I can give them a name and a description. I can fiddle around with the layouts like I did with the one above. And then I can add buttons to each one. So I can link to anything in Loom, Confluence, Jira. So I'm going to link to the founders page and learn how we started. You can see that it is actually pulling in the image that's used as the page header, which is really cool. So this image here that we're seeing is actually the page header on the Confluence page. So without any effort, it's already being tied together. Now, of course, I can come in and I can pick my own custom image if I want, but I think it's very cool that that's just being brought in. So that further like connects the brands and the work that we've already done. Additionally, I can change color and text. And one of the things that's really cool that happens here is it's always checking to make sure that the colors are, sorry, it's cut off a bit, but it's making sure that all the colors are accessibility compliant so that you're not using a text color and a background color that might be visible to you, but not for someone who has visibility issues like color blindness. So it's really great that this check is being done. You'll see it turn red if it's like, hey, no. So here, if I drop it to black, oh no, because it's automatically switched the text to white. It's not even going to let me ruin it, which is great. But if you pick custom colors, it's going to warn you, hey, friend, don't do that. That's a bad idea for some folks. And I can add additional items to my, or additional frames, to my carousel as well. This is the carousel.
And Matt, when we talk about those stakeholders, I know for me, knowing the exact Atlassian blue, I always think I know it. And then, a designer will let me know that's not remotely close. And here's the actual hex code. So being able to input that hex code right from your internal brand guidelines helps a lot.
Thank God. Thank God that you can. And then I'm so glad that it's also checking because accessibility is so important. This is the part I'm like most excited about with the Company Hub is the cards element. So as I mentioned, you can drop spotlight and cards and carousel elements right onto Confluence pages and live docs as well. But this element especially has some unique properties that only work on your Company Hub. So here is the cards element. I've dropped it in here. And just like with the others, I have some different modifications I can do. I can, change the text size, which is great. I'm going to go with small. You have the option to display it like in a row or stacked, so it wraps 2 new lines. So this is, you get something like this. Chicka, chicka, chick. Most likely you want to do stacked. Again, hiding information visually is, be careful with that, please. Because people won't find it generally. I can change corner styles. I can change alignment. On the content side, this is where it gets very interesting. So we have a couple of options. First of all, we can manually add cards like we've been doing with the carousel, adding frames to the carousel. So I can manually, here they all are, and I can link to the things, and I can, just so you can link to anything. So one of these cards could link to a YouTube page or something on SharePoint. It doesn't have to be things in the Atlassian ecosystem. But I could also say, I want dynamic cards here. And you have a dynamic card builder here, which could be, a whole separate thing that we explore. But unfortunately, we are rapidly running out of time. But one of the cool things is we can filter to find things. So what I'm going to do is, hey, filter, knock it off. Filter, are you? Maybe it's mad about my zoom level. Let's see. Can we? UI is being a little bit broken right now. So let's see. Let's fiddle with this. If I go with type, and I'm gonna say blog post. Okay, this one's working. So here I've selected blog posts, and now it's gonna pull in my Confluence pages that are blog posts. And maybe I'm gonna limit this a little more, and I'm gonna say I want them from the good software space. So I don't want the blog posts from every space. And I don't think they actually have labels. I want to, well, no, I do want to sort them by most updated. So now I see 2 blog posts in that space. I'm going to hit confirm. And now it's going to show cards for these blog posts. And the cool thing is when somebody publishes a new blog, that new blog post will automatically show in my list of cards, which is really cool. I think if I had used page headings on these blog posts, that image would be pulled in here also, but I didn't because I should have, but I didn't. So that's one cool thing that you can do with cards that you can't do with any of these other elements, and you can't do, as far as I know, if you drop this element into pages. The other thing is audience segmentation. Dun, dun, dun. Very, very cool. So what this means is you can show different cards based on who is looking at them. So this is, again, why you want to talk to your stakeholders before you start creating a company hub, because you might find that there are some people that are like, oh my God, we are in marketing and we want to make sure that everybody sees our voice and tone guidelines, as an example. But it might turn out that like the people who do facilities maintenance are like, yeah, I mean, you could, but actually what matters for us is our safety standards documentation. So you can actually use target audiences here. So I'm going to take a look here. And so what we can do is we can apply this, we can limit what is visible based on the groups that exist in the Atlassian platform. So we could say, for example, that all the town square users should see these cards, but other people shouldn't. So if we have some cards maybe specifically for administrators, right? I could limit this to only be visible to administrators. This is really cool. So that will limit the whole list here. The other option that I have is, where am I? I need to be using, I apologize, because I'm using dynamic cards. I can't limit each individual card because they're dynamic. If I have manual cards like this, now I can say, I wanna make each card individually visible. So I could say for card number 1, that one should be available to administrators only, right? But then the other cards, maybe they're visible to everybody. You can even have a card that is visible to a couple of groups. So this one is available to Confluence admins and Jira admins, but not to Loom admins, as an example. So this is a way of creating a list of cards and resources, and you can control who sees what, so that if I am a facilities manager, or I'm working in HR, or I'm working in marketing, I'm going to see resources here that actually matter to me. So if you are manually adding cards, like I'm doing right now, you can control which cards are visible to whom. You also have that ability to limit the whole list and say, none of these cards should be available to Matt if he is not an administrator or whatever. This is a really powerful tool for audiences. Actually, in our app that we make at K15T called Scroll Documents, we have a really advanced version of this for those teams creating documentation in Confluence, because there can be all sorts of variants of needs as to what you should show to whom. So it's really nice to see audience segmentation happening here. It's a really, really powerful thing. Alli, is there anything I've missed in talking about cards here? I'm obviously incredibly excited about this particular element.
No, I think you hit all the main pieces. I think the segmentation is the one that we, didn't originally have in Company Hub, but just came up so much from so many customers. That's something they really needed. So excited for folks to try that out. And then, one thing that we've done with cards is, you got a lot of image options here with Unsplash, but you can also, jump into, your company's like iconography or other resources and, have each of these specific elements be something, again, that like follows more of your brand guidelines. So that's how Atlassian has our hub. More sort of like icon for resources, icon for filing for help. But cards can really fulfill, I think, a number of use cases. And it's really the only limit is your imagination.
I love this so much. A couple of questions. Emily is wondering, what about hex codes elsewhere in Confluence? I'm wondering, Emily, if you're referring to, like, is there a way to set in one place in Confluence, these are the hex codes for our brand, and then that brand is carried throughout any place that's using them? As far as I know today, Alli, I don't believe that's possible. I think they're set very manually in these items. Is that right? It's not like a brand kit in
Yes,
Canva,
like
as an
a style
example.
sheet, white labeling sort of experience.
Yes.
No, we don't have that yet. But you can say across all of Confluence and Jira, you can say this is the logo we want in the header and the specific color. But not yet at a place where we have that kind of like one-stop shop to input everything about your company's color and font guide and kind of spread that to every tool. But I will definitely pass that feedback on.
Awesome. Emily also wonders, the audience segmentation, will that work with the beta of roles in Confluence? Roles are already laid out in Jira. I mean, currently, no. Currently, you can't pick a role to display things to, because in the end of the day, roles then correspond to individual users or user groups.
That's right. So we have user group supported in Company Hub. Roles, I think I'll have to follow up with the RBAC team. I don't think it's in the near-term roadmap, but we can definitely look into it.
Okay, fantastic. People were also wondering specific colors for like notes, like panels, and background headers for tables would be very nice. I agree. You do have some color options with tables, and you can customize panels, but yeah, those elements you can't input hex codes for. So that's a greater like
Yep.
That's an editor thing that a lot of people have been asking for a long time, and I think that's a really good thought.
Yeah, I agree. We give you like a few, I think somewhere between 5 and 10, but we don't give you quite as many powers to kind of set the specific color the way you do with sections and hub. But
yeah.
If I got it right, you guys want a paintbrush that you can put on any element across Confluence.
Yes, and we would like that accessibility checker everywhere, so that if you do give us the paintbrush, it's also like, no, don't do that.
No yellow on yellow. Yeah. Right.
I get it why Atlassian's like, we're controlling it. It's going to be our brand colors, because we don't want people to muck about. But if we want to muck about, at least help us. Yeah, it's it's a very good request, especially if you're using your beautiful company hub and you've designed it and you've changed all the colors and it looks great, and then you drop a table in and you're like, oh, this is not my brand color at all. Had a question from Andre, and unfortunately, we don't have much time to talk about the custom search element that Alli showed. But Andre was wondering, can you customize the like no results page, which I don't believe that you can. You can customize the placeholder text that goes into the search, and the filters to help define what people can search for with this element. But I don't believe you can customize the messenger experience for like, oh, you didn't find anything.
No, not today. You can customize it in a bunch of other ways, but the generic like no results thing, I think, is just the placeholder text we have there.
This would be another amazing place for Rovo to live. And this element, this is the same custom search that's also available on Pages. Is that right, Alli? Or am I?
Yeah, so you should be able to, one common use case for the hub specifically is, let's say you're using this page mostly for, say, like HR policies and resources, and then you have a HR and policy space that has, verified pages or pages with a certain label that indicate to your company, like, this is the most up-to-date, fresh stuff. You can say then customize this custom search element to just pull in those specific resources. So you have a little bit more control than you would have elsewhere.
Fantastic. All right. I don't have much time to talk about visual formatting. I would love to have a whole session where I Bob Ross this whole thing and we just get it looking beautiful. The nice thing is these are all very standard experiences. So for any of these elements, you know that you're going to be able to come in and change background colors, text colors. You can't change the text. You're going to use whatever the name of the font is that's used on in Atlassian apps. I can't remember. So you do have some control. This is, again, where you want to be talking with your stakeholders to understand what it is people are looking for. What it is people are looking for, as well as like what should things look like, branding wise. You don't want to, go and set the background color for your links to be something crazy and then say, you know what, I want to have a border and I'm going to make that border blue. You can real quickly get this thing looking janky. So don't do that. So talk with your stakeholders. Again, a great time for a whiteboard talking about this. And I recommend lay out all of your stuff first. Add all of your cards and your elements and your tables, and then start to modify colors and things as one cohesive page, as opposed to piecemeal doing all of these things. So last but not least, Alli, we have like a minute. Could you maybe hint at any potential future changes that might be coming to Company Hub?
I think what I can do is, if you have more feedback on Company Hub, come find me and share it. There's a few plans in play that I won't go too deep into today, but we want to make sure that you guys are shaping what's next. So there's a few things that came up today that we've heard before, having, say, more of a white labeling style sheet experience, having the power of Rovo help you out a lot more with Company Hub, helping you all have to not be designers to make a beautiful and functional Company Hub, and helping you get the most authoritative things that should be there into there with less work on your side. So those are some of the core themes we're looking at, and find me if you have more notes, and look out for more updates soon.
Fantastic. And hit that more menu and drop some feedback anytime you're using it. That will make it directly to the team. Alli, thank you so much for joining today. This has been a really good look at what the Company Hub is for and how to make one. Thank you so much for all the insights and for lending an ear.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone in the chat.
Everybody, it has been so nice to explore this with you today. Hit that link in the chat to subscribe to the K15T weekly Confluence newsletter. We're 100 issues deep, and we are not stopping for no reason, y'all. Confluence keeps growing, so why shouldn't we? Come learn with us. Check out some of the other videos on the channel. Check out our content hub that's full of written Confluence best practices and guides. You can check out Confluence News there. It's all Confluence all the time with us. We just can't stop, won't stop. So like, subscribe, subscribe again, and join us as we continue to explore how to use Confluence to share what you do best. Bye, everybody.